Oh, buddy. Here we go, Joey. We're back.
Feels like the first time again.
Man, it has been a long time since we've done one of these out of lefts. And was it last April? I think our last one, right after the Corey Erickson. Was that about it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of have my own out of left episode with myself every time I listen to somebody else's episode.
Yeah. Well, man, it's good to see your face. We haven't been doing these, but we've stayed in communication throughout this whole time. It's been quite a year. For myself, we might get into that at some point. But
Sure.
Joey, how the heck are we, buddy? I miss you, man. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, cinch by the inch, hard by the yard. If I look at it today, it's everything is fantastic, everything's great. It has been, it's been a little challenging year. We don't usually experience too much loss, but in the last 6 months or so, we've
You've
had
had
some
some
of that
loss in
on
your
our
life.
side. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, all things considered, yes, family is healthy. We love living in Texas. It is about to be the spring season. All is good. I can't complain.
I need to hear about that crazy family of yours. Managing those four of them, they're all in their own stuff. You and Katie both have bustling careers. I got to hear what's going on. Or everyone
So
else has
Joe,
to hear. I know what's going on. Everyone else does.
I want like so I want to I know gosh, I feel like I have told this to you 3 or 4 times, but I've got to go back because um we didn't do any out of lefts over the summer. Like I just sort of thought, man, I can't wait to tell Blake about this, but I think anyone with kids will understand this. So uh I'm just going to jump right into a story. So this past
Yes.
summer, um or wait, was it this summer or was it this fall? I'm screwing it up now. You know what I'm telling you about, right? No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. This was fall break. This was fall break. Okay. Well, like any of that matters. So, where we live in Texas, it's only an hour or more to the Oklahoma border. Once you get up into there, there's a lot of really great hiking cabin spots in like what's called Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's a very popular spot for people that live here in Texas to go up to. So, first time we'd ever done this, we rented a cabin over fall break. Our school district does a week off in the fall, which is a huge inconvenience if you work. But
You
like now we've kind of
you
adapted
you
that
you
like
hate those breaks for your kids. I remember you.
yeah,
There was one out of left. You were hilarious talking about winter break needs to be way shorter.
it does. Like, what do and I'm the one that works from home and I can actually navigate it a little bit. I'm thinking, what do people do with their kids home for a week while they've got to work? So
Right.
anyway, we got this cabin up there. And a couple of years ago, we bought a Suburban with 4 kids. We need a lot of room. We just kind of
Right.
decided, listen, hey, this is what's in the cards for us.
Mhm.
So got everything loaded up for this trip. And I'm of the type that like vacations aren't vacations for us right now. It's just parenting your kids in a different location, and
Somewhere
it
else,
usually adds
right?
more stress. And I was just I knew that's what this was going to be like, and I wanted to kind of relax and just hope that it would be fun, and put the iPads down, and let's make fires and let's throw the ball and all that type of stuff. So we get maybe 25 minutes down the road, and a very popular spot in Texas is the Buc-ee's gas station. Anytime we go on a road trip, we've got to stop there. If you don't know Buc-ee's, it's Walmart, and it's a gas station mixed together. Super
Oh,
clean bathrooms, really good food
okay.
options, souvenirs, everything. It's like a tourist thing that you got to stop there.
Okay.
Um, so, of course, the whole plan is let's not eat breakfast. Let's get on the road. Let's stop at Bucky's. So I get on the road, and what happens? I notice the Bucky's exit as I'm passing it. and, so, and I'm not going to yank the car over across 2 lanes of traffic to take this ramp. So I end up going past it, and I'm like, no big deal. We've been to Bucky's. We'll just hit the next one. Then
Um,
it's this giant uproar from the kids. Like, no, come on, we gotta go. We were thinking this. You said we could go there. This, that, and the other. And we had planned on. There's plenty
how
enough time. We left plenty early. You couldn't check in until 4. So Katie's like, whatever. Just hit the next exit and turn around and go
spin
back.
around?
And,
Yeah, how
and so
dare
we
you?
look it up, and it's like, well, the next exit isn't for 6 miles. So really, we got to go 6 miles down, turn around, 6 miles back, plus the 20 minutes or so that we're stopping there. I start
Yeah.
thinking, I'm like, guys,
We're losing an
You can
hour over
get,
this, right?
yeah, I'm like, you can get candy or a soda or whatever, like the vacation snacks anywhere. Anyway, they convince us it's on the kids. The kids want to go back. So this is 20 minutes out of our way. We get back to Bucky's. We go in. Everyone kind of gets their round of food, kolaches, breakfast burritos, all that different stuff. We get back to the car, and it's an ordeal getting everybody in and out. Right, three car seats in a booster, or me at least two car seats in a booster, anything. So we get back to the car. We get everybody sort of set up. I Somebody forgot something. So I've got to go back in to get another item. From the time that I went back in to get another item, came back to the car, it was full on chaotic circus screaming, everyone.
Were you
So
already
I co-
stressed before this?
oh my so I come back to Katie is upset because the brisket breakfast burrito that I got for the kids nobody wants. And they wanted to go back to Bucky's, but that now all of a sudden they don't want these burritos. And so apparently she had said something to Vaughn about don't put it on the door, it's going to fall off. Uh, as they're arguing, trying to get people buckled, things like that, I guess she came around the outside of the vehicle, opens the door, which then causes the burrito to fall off. Now there's eggs and tortilla and pulled pork and brisket and just all over the
A, bur-
floor.
a burrito catastrophe.
Oh my gosh, everything. And so Vaughn is 11 years old, prepubescent, and him and my wife are both right fighters. Like they butt heads all the time.
Yeah.
No one else's feelings or relationships matter. They both fight to the end for what they think is right. So obviously Katie is very mad that she told him don't spill the
Right.
burrito, don't put it on the door. He's very upset because he thinks that she's the reason it spilled because she opened the door. So anyway, I walk back into all of this. Everyone is very frustrated. So I, so I'm now standing outside of my driver's side door, and I pull open Vaughn's passenger door right behind me, and I see the disaster that it is. And so you got to understand, Bucky's has like 200 gas pumps and other parking. So like, I'm not kidding you. There's 500 people there, every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're in the parking lot that's not empty. There's people all around us. And as I open the door and I see this disaster and I look at Vaughn, he knows that I'm upset. So he goes into his spin mode where he's trying to say that it's somebody else's fault and not his. And he gets, puffs his chest and gets very aggressive with me. And like, and start, and just trying to plead his case and say that this was mom's fault, this, that, and the other. And I've never been like the parent or the dad that has hit our kids, I've spanked them or anything. Like it's maybe happened once or twice and just is not there. And Vaughn's not big enough yet for like me to really like body him. You know what I mean? Like once he's bigger, I told him like if the time will come. But just for whatever reason, I don't know if I was embarrassed because other people were around or I was, feeling disrespected or he just shouldn't, be doing that or acting that way. But like the build up of knowing that we were on vacation and that this type of thing was going to happen, he starts he's yapping mid sentence, and I just feel my body like it wasn't. I don't even know if it was my brain that did it. I just feel my body the quickest I've probably ever reacted. My right hand down by my side just comes up in this uppercut motion with an open hand and just plants one on his jawline with
Oh,
an open hand. Enough to get his
Texas
reaction.
justice.
Oh my! And not enough to like, not enough to hurt him, but enough to get a
His
reaction.
attention. Yeah.
Let me tell you, he was he was. I think he was partly stunned that it happened, and he'd just never been hit before. And I
Yeah.
mean, it had, like I
Was it
hit
a quiet
him.
ride for a while after that?
Oh my! No, but it's not even like. So I hit him. He folds and fumbles, slams into the door. Ricochets off the door and crumbles to the ground. And then I'm like embarrassed about it. And then I'm embarrassed that he folded and didn't take it better. So I reach down and I grab him by both hands and I
Get up.
pick him up and I sort of, I sling him into the car. And then so now I'm in this, pissed off mode that I'm like, I slam the door and I'm like, no movies. everybody shut up until we get there. So
Like
that
Chris
was the
Farley,
fall break
everyone on the
vacation.
bus. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Did that
So
set the tone for the rest of the trip, or did things calm down a little bit after that, or how was it?
it was like, yeah. So yeah, things were not enjoyable in the car. It was a little bit tense in the car. Um, but then again, it's not like anyone gave any slack, because then, I mean, as soon as we got back on the road, it was, maybe if you wouldn't have missed the exit the first time, this wouldn't have happened. So
Ultimately, this was your fault.
yeah, exactly,
Ultimately.
yeah. So
So,
that carry that over for the last 4 or 5 months since the fall. That's exactly how this house goes.
man, and you're running around all the time with those guys, right? I mean, they're in all different sports and all different kind of things. And I saw
So this fall,
one of your boys started doing viola. Did I see that?
oh my gosh! So this fall was the worst, because nobody's sports lined up on the same day.
Yeah.
So my oldest was doing tackle football, and so his practices during the week would change based on when middle school had practice, and then
Okay.
he played on Saturdays. Then my next one, crew, he picked up orchestra, but he was doing baseball. And so his baseball practices would flex during the week based on when the field was available. And he played on Sundays. So Sundays in the fall, NFL football. And then
Hmm.
my last boy was doing T-ball. So I'm not kidding you. This fall, I didn't get to coach any of their teams. I helped a little bit with T-ball, but I mean, it was literally just chauffeur services every single night, usually dropping, 2 or 3 off in different locations. It was, I mean, Katie and I have very much taken the stance that it's like, we don't need to put that much emphasis in letting them do, everything they need to do. Like, if there's a little bit of coordination and consolidation, that I think
Yeah.
will help everyone. Cause it was, we've let them explore what they want. We put them in things that they want to do.
Yeah.
But man, when it was 7 days a week at some points, we're like, this is maybe taking
Jeez.
a little bit too much precedent. So, but
Right.
given the opportunity, I'm sure we'll do it again.
Yeah, you guys are great parents. I know you're trying to give them opportunities and things to grow into, but there has to be limits somewhere, you know. And I could imagine having four of them essentially. I mean, I know you have a young daughter that she's probably not into deep athletics yet, but it's coming, you know, and
Oh
it'll all
yeah,
be
oh yeah.
happening at once
We got her
or
signed up for
something.
t-ball in the spring. Yeah,
Oh,
no, it's
cool.
I mean, obviously we signed up for this, right? Like we had
Yeah,
3 boys, and then we got Berlin and all that. But
yeah.
there is there's a lot of volume with four that you don't anticipate. Like there's just there six every time we have a meal, 6 sets of silverware, 6 plates, 6 cups, 6 meals. You've got
Are you guys
six
running the
book
dishwasher
bags.
every day?
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, no, we do them by hand in the sink because
Oh,
it'd
I'd
be
be
too
nuts.
slow in the
Yeah.
dishwasher.
Oh, I never
I
even
mean,
thought about that.
every kid every day has their pajamas, their school stuff, their practice stuff. That you got, 4 sets of equipment and iPads and the shoes. My gosh, there's every kid has 6, 7, 8 pairs of shoes all over the house. It's just the volume of 4 kids is starting to wear on me a little bit.
It's only just begun, brother. It's only
I
just...
know, I know, but
Hey,
it's at the same time, if there's ever a day that we don't have anything to do, we all look at each other and wonder, what are we going to do now?
for sure. I would
Yeah,
love to hear, unless you have objections, I want to hear about your bananas experience. So we've
yeah,
talked about Savannah bananas on the podcast from time to time, and how Joey would have probably been good at it, and I'm kind of a little bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to it. But you actually got to go and experience it, correct?
yeah, and it was I didn't react the way that I thought it. Number one, the players are much better than I anticipated. I mean,
Really, skill
these are
wise,
oh my
pro
gosh, yes,
level.
these are pro level guys for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
I wondered that.
but
Interesting.
um, it didn't translate to a live baseball game for me. And I'll tell you a couple things why. Based on so I went with my company. So I mean, we had 50, 60 people that were there, and we had this whole outfield section or whatever, where and you're eating and drinking and things. I was too far away to actually see some of the stuff they were doing on the infield. So
Okay.
like, you know what I mean? Like when a guy fields the ball and goes between his legs and flips it back, like I was too far away for that to even impact me. Now
Did
the
you really get a feel
replays were
for it? Yeah.
amazing. Oh, it shows great on social media. It does this, that, and the other. But the other thing that I didn't like about it was Um, it all of the things that I love about baseball, like building the momentum and going on rallies and things like that, is completely killed because
Yeah.
they only play for a point each inning. So like
Really?
if so the Bananas were the home team. So like um if the I forget who the other team, Crusaders or whatever, let's just call them Crusaders. If the Crusaders win the first inning, they get a point. If they win the second inning, they get a point. So it's not run. So it's not like they're down 4-0, 5-0, whatever.
Okay.
But then in the third inning, if the Bananas shut them out and then they come back for the bottom of the third and they get, let's say, two guys on and nobody out, and then somebody rips one down the line, like for me, that's like, oh, here comes the beginning. Like, let's go, let's go, let's
Yeah.
go. But once that first guy comes in and they win the inning 1-0, they shut it down and they move on to the next one. And I was like,
Really?
oh, I don't like that at all. Like, I
That's
get
weird.
it from the perspective of they're trying to get it into a 2 hour window and all that
Yeah.
type of stuff. But and maybe for someone with a shorter attention span, they like that type of stuff. But that was the biggest thing. Number one, it moved too fast for me
Okay.
because at a baseball game, I want to sit and drink a beer and talk with people and catch up, and it's more of a social type thing. This was
There's beauty in that.
if you're not locked on every play, you're going to miss something. And if you miss some of
Mm.
their entertainment, then it's not as much baseball value; it's more entertainment value. So I was it looks great on social media. I think it looks great on the highlights, and
Not as cool
there's
in
no
person.
doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. They're selling stadiums out,
Yeah.
and things like that. But it's not a repeat thing for me. It would never
Interesting.
be a season ticket holder type thing. I would never. I don't. I think it's always got to be a traveling show where you just hit one people at a time because I don't think your true baseball fan is getting enough baseball out of it.
Yeah. Let me ask. I
So
got a few questions for you. Do you still see yourself as being able to have done that and been like, you think that would have been a cool thing for you out of college or something like that?
I don't think I was. I don't think I was good. I mean, I could have been the clown for sure. Like if there
Yeah.
was a section like, I mean, here's the other thing too. I traveled to the event and packed my WWE belt in my bag, wore it
What?
to the
Wait,
game.
there was something with that, right?
Yeah, so I wore it to the game with my Loggers uniform, and then I
Yeah.
passed it down to one of our guys that was on the fence, and we handed it to the right fielder or the left fielder, and the Bananas left fielder wore it for a whole inning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but
That's
of course,
cool.
and apparently the game was on ESPN too, and everybody went back and watched the whole broadcast, and for that whole inning they didn't show the outfield one time, so it never made it on TV or anything.
Oh,
But yes, from the entertainment aspect, could definitely have done that. But from a playing
okay.
standpoint, all of those guys looked markedly better than I was
Do they ever flub tricks when they're trying to do them?
all the time. All the time,
I
they
figured they
train.
have to, right? Some of those look pretty
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, for sure. And and you get I think there's incentives and things like that for doing extra tricks. So like if there's a pop up on the infield, I think you get something better for catching it behind your back or something. And again, the benefit of that is that you can only lose 1 point per inning. So even so, in that scenario, a real baseball game with two runners on and nobody out, you'd never try for a trick catch, right? But you know that you can't give up a big 4 or 5 run inning. You're only risking a point. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do
It was a little too gimmicky for me.
yeah.
And I prefer the experience of a traditional baseball game.
Are any at bats like just totally normal, where they're just like a pitcher and a hitter going at it?
For sure.
Okay.
I would say more than half are that way.
I was wondering how intermittently they try to do a trick or something silly or
Yeah, no, it's
okay.
not. Yeah, it's not a gimmick the whole way through. Like they do still compete. They do still play in there. But it moves really quick.
Okay, well, interesting experience. You got to actually see it live, and I guess maybe let down a little bit, not what you expected, or
Yeah, no, and
you know,
I think this is now if they came here and my kids were super into it and they asked to go to a game, I'd probably take them one time. But
sure.
it's not anything that I am hooked on and need to go back.
Buddy, I've got a long list. We kind of went back and forth a little bit about some topics that we were going to look into here. What would you like to go through next?
Well, you know what? It's been a minute. Remind me what we've got on there. I
Oh,
can be a
sure,
talker.
sure. Some notes that we kind of talked about. You talked about coaches convention. There was some loss kind of in your family, in your life, health at
Yeah,
41, and all the guests that we've kind of talked about a little bit. But those might be some things to jump into.
yeah.
Any of
So,
those?
um, just on that, so in a short period of time, just lost my father-in-law in October, and then grandpa in December, and then just had one of my good friends pass away as well this
Yeah.
past month. And it's like we were very blessed to go a long time without anyone close to us passing away, and then it just seems like at this age, unfortunately, I'm 41, but it
Yeah.
certainly feels a lot more. But yeah, it seems you hit different seasons in your life where mortality becomes a lot more real. You know what I mean? And
Oh
I've got
yeah.
I think about all the kids, and yeah, I think in your mind everyone thinks they're going to live to 85, and
I know.
it just
It's
yeah,
not.
you got
It's
to
not
look
always
at
the reality.
yeah. The more that I look around, the more real life examples I see of like I begin to start worrying like hey, what that could easily have been me, or whatever. So
Any
that's a
really any day could be your day, man. My time as a firefighter really gave me perspective on you can live your life perfect, perfect health, however you see your spirituality with God, be a great neighbor, person, all these things, but any day could be your day. And it is
and
crazy, man. It really is. You got to
and
cherish
I
your life and the time you got.
I don't think I never took for granted. So we moved to Texas in 2010, or I did, and then after we had our second, Katie's folks moved here from Illinois, and there was a
Hmm.
clear dividing line in my life of before we had any help here and then after, and they were very, very active and things like that. But
Yeah.
from a because so he let us know that he had a brain tumor the day after Christmas, and then he
Hmm.
had surgery in February, and then he had his 6 7 month battle, trying to
Yeah. Beat it.
fight it after that. But I think from my perspective too, it was also just watching, you know, I you, maybe you think about how it's going to affect you personally, but I mean, I for 6 months I watched how it affected my wife and my kids too, and just getting questions that you don't anticipate until you're in that situation of watching someone
Yeah.
pass away, and how you answer those
Sure.
questions and all that. So, yeah, no, tough situation, just because we haven't, all that stuff kind of happened all at once, and it hadn't happened before. But um, yeah, I would love to say that it's made me, renewed perspective on life, and go do the thing that you want to do, and show up where you need to show up, and all that. So I try to do my best on that.
Yeah, man. That's tough. That's a lot of loss in a year for a family and a personal friend of yours as well, for sure.
Yeah. No, but again, even through all of that, I can't. That's what I mean by, like, when you zoom out and you look at that big picture with all that loss, but still day by day we're still very blessed, and it's still very good. And I choose to still look at all the good stuff, which is we've got plenty of it.
Every day is a gift, my friend. Every day is a
Yeah.
gift. I
What?
want to
So
know what's up. Sorry,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, uh, bringing this all sort of back to baseball.
Sure.
And I bounce around and I cross over a lot too. But like,
I love
so
it.
I
That's why.
just yeah.
Go ahead.
The Ben Hartle episode really brought this back to my mind. I go to the baseball coaches convention every year for my job, trying to find
Yeah.
tournament groups that need housing supports and all that.
Right.
And just the tools and the devices and the analytics is just off the charts. Like
Wild, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
remember swinging like a PVC pipe was advanced, or like Krasik could turn anything into a drill, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, that was he would literally he'd pick up a garden hose and he'd make up a drill and see this keeps you from getting your wrist through too quick or whatever. But walking
Yeah.
around the baseball convention, like there's it's hard to God,
Decipher.
it's hard to. It would be hard for me to like get back to basics and just see ball, hit ball, just because there's so many
Oh yeah.
devices and analytics, and you've
Yeah.
got pitching machines that just with the touch of a button you can change the pitch type and the speed and the arm angle, and
It's a
my
completely
goodness,
different game than
everyone,
what we came up in, Joe, for sure.
yeah,
Different game.
and they're, I mean, everybody's selling. my goodness, you've got flat bats, you've got counterweighted bats, you've got,
Hmm.
my goodness, you've got hand grip things, all the different things you could possibly think of.
Did
So
any of it look cool to you, or any of it look stupid to you? Did anything jump out to you that you saw? Because there's unlimited technology. The devices are endless. The innovation in baseball is exploding right now. And for
to
for
be
some
honest,
guys, if you haven't been in the game and really paying attention, if you just remember what your career was like 20, 30 years ago, and then if you looked at it now, you'd be like, oh my God, this is overwhelming almost.
and when you see it all in one place, it all feels like a gimmick. Like when you see it
Hmm.
all in one place, you're like, well, how can all of these things make you 20% better? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like if you saw somebody alone and this was their training device, um like there was one that was it was an oversized plate on the ground, and the plate had like six different holes in it, and then
Hmm.
based on what button you hit, a ball would pop out. So I mean, if it was in, you'd have to get out in front of it. If it was
Yeah.
outside, you'd have to go behind it. And I sat there and I'm like, this thing was like, I don't know, $3,500, and I'm like, this is soft toss. Like literally, you say this is soft toss inside, soft toss outside, and you should see all these guys crowded around it. And my God, these kids with their fluorescent shoes and pulled up socks and their shin guards and their,
Swaggy.
oh
Yeah, a
my
lot of flair.
gosh, the mitts and the flat bills and the big Oakley glasses. Like it's not just one. Like it's
What do they
it's
call it?
not
The
like
the drip. They call it the
the
drip.
yes, but it's they don't just have one thing. You don't just have like one sweatshirt. These kids walking around there
It
have
makes it a little
all of it.
obnoxious,
It was
right?
very obnoxious.
Like, hey, I'm not a curmudgeon when it comes to the game. Like, I'm for a little bit of flair and some fun, a few things. Like, I used to wear a couple chains. I like my batting gloves hanging out of my pockets and flat bill, but there's a lot going on with like the young baseball culture now, of like 20 chains and bracelets and elbow guards and knee guards, and this is like an 8-year-old, and they got ice cream colored gloves, and like it's wild out there. I mean, it's a different landscape.
And it was all. I mean, it was all in one. It's yeah. When you see it all in one place, it's very clear that I mean that stuff is they've got to be selling it. They've got to be making money on it, or they wouldn't do it. But
Yeah.
it did seem like there's a lot of players I grew up with that were, just tossed a ball up and hit it into a field and walked and went and got it, and they were better than me. So it's hard for me to take it all seriously and think there's no way all 25 of these contraptions make you 18% better, bat velo
No.
and all that.
I know.
So
But
anyway,
at the same time though, I don't want to be the old guy that just dismisses new stuff, right? I would like to at least try to look at it objectively and be like, is this applicable? Could this work? I don't want to just be the guy that's like, a tee and a bucket of balls is all you need. I don't ever want to be that guy.
so I think that is where it hit me with Ben's episode is that he seemed very experienced and very dialed in at a very young age
Incredible
on.
mindset.
Yeah, and just it didn't seem like he was wasting too much time figuring it out. And I know that was something that you and I talked about way back when, that it was like, man, how, like, I don't know that we had a great hitting coach or great advice. It was just tons of reps,
None.
right? So I
That's
think
it.
we wasted a lot of time trying to figure out, is this the best way to do it? Is this what? So, and ultimately, you just kind of gravitated to, okay, if I got results with that, then I'm going to do more of that. But
Yeah.
man, he sounded just like didn't waste a lot of time figuring it out. Like he just sort of went to the things that worked best and kept moving forward.
Yeah, that guy, obviously he's very talented, skills and tool wise, but that guy's mindset as a 22-year-old is absolutely unreal. I was blown away by his maturity, by his process. I mean, that to me is an absolute. If his skills are anywhere close to his mindset, that guy is going to go to the big leagues. Like that guy is dialed. 22 years old. Remember what you were like at 22, Joe?
All too well. I
I
was
mean,
I was drinking pitchers of beer during the day because I was too tired after the games to drink them afterwards.
like
That's the kind of player I ended up being.
I was so impressed with Ben Hartle's process, who he is, how everyone spoke about him. I've probably gotten the most feedback off of Ben Hartle than I've gotten off any other podcast. And people
And
are
so,
really liking someone that is current. And let me just,
yeah,
first of all, let me thank you for that too, because you floated that idea to me when this all started. And I was like, no, 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 I want only guys that are done. And then it just, I don't know, it just made sense. Like, why don't we see what this guy is thinking during his career right now, and it was beautiful. I mean, I could not have been happier with that episode. Go ahead.
And you know what? You know what sort of made me think about that too is that you're such the perfect interviewer for that because you're up on like whenever you were interviewing Ben, you knew all the same books, you knew all the
I'm up
same
to date.
techniques, you knew all the
Yep.
same influencers. Like I
Hmm.
could never have carried that interview on. I knew none of that type of stuff. And so I
I'm still very immersed in the culture and trying to understand new stuff. I don't want to be left behind for sure.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I could tell you uh, every time he brought up a certain type of equipment or drill, like it felt like you were just feeding off that energy and that kind of, let's go down this road, let's go down this road. So it
Yeah.
was a very
Coach,
organic thing for you too.
it was, and I was worried that as a 40-year-old, I wasn't going to be able to. How was my conversation going to go with a 22-year-old? But it
Sure.
felt very organic. Like I felt like we instantly clicked. Coach Steinwart of Springfield High even texted me. He said he goes, "Man, it was like listening to Simon and Garfunkel. You guys going back and forth." So that was a special comment. My dad loved it. He said it was his favorite episode. I really think we had a connection right off the bat, and we just vibed for like 3 hours. It was incredible. Ben
Yeah,
Hartle is the
no,
man.
I know we've talked about this too, but like the more I heard how mature he was, the more embarrassed I got about myself when I was that age.
Right?
I know we've talked about this too. Like I've seen some old WICS or WAND news clips when they used to come out and like anytime that I had a chance to get interviewed and I look back now, I'm like, God, what a dipshit. Like,
Hmm.
why would you say that? Like, it
Yeah.
was at the time I wasn't trying to be selfish or full of myself or anything. But when I hear it now, I'm like, could no one coach me on that? Like, hey, if you get a chance to be interviewed, like, make sure you thank your coaches and your parents and you give some credit to your teammates. Like, nope, any chance that light was on, it was me talking about how great I was. And I'm
Hmm.
so embarrassed to watch that back now. That the more that I heard guys like, gosh, who else was really, Knadler's son was also very
Colt.
mature and very,
Oh gosh, yeah.
gratuitous of other people's time and influence on him and the way that they impacted him. So it's, yeah, I mean, must have great parents, must have great influences around him, really
Absolutely.
good.
I I,
Especially in
I
a time when I complain about social media's effect on young kids now. It's really refreshing to hear guys like that.
Oh yeah, and we can get into Colt here in a second, but I too had a couple interviews in high school that were so cringy, and I am so I have a hard time even looking at them now. Like I was derogatory about some other teams in the conference. This was football, and I knew it actually motivated those teams. Like some of those guys, I knew them, and they were telling me like, "Hey, we're all upset about this," and I was like, "Oh, I wish that guy who would interview me." I'm honestly, I mean, I was the one that said the words, but I had wished the guy who interviewed me would have stopped and been like, "Hey, you're not sounding great right now, buddy. I know you're like 17 years old and you're feeling yourself, but you're not going to want these words in print for the rest of your life." He doesn't
Right.
owe that to me, but as
Of
now
course.
someone that interviews people, I would never ever let someone sound dumb, and I would pause someone if I think they were sounding dumb and say, "Hey, I'm going to cut this out. This does not sound
Right.
good."
Yeah, yeah. And so this kind of ties into when I think about that, when I think it was Walt Patton's episode where I think I texted you this, that there's two different types of arrogance or confidence or cockiness or whatever. And
Mm.
I think I said there's arrogance in your abilities and then there's arrogance in your accomplishments. And I unfortunately was arrogance and accomplishments. I propped up all these wins and hits as like, look how amazing I am.
Yeah,
When other guys who are just ready for the ball and Walt probably remembers 10% of his accomplishments because he's the guy
seriously.
that's he's confident in his abilities and he's
Yeah,
ready. What the most important play to him is the next one. And again,
yeah,
that's why I kind of am embarrassed with myself. I'm like, man, why wasn't I like that? Like, why did I hang? Why do I know every single home run that I hit in college? Because there were so few of them, So like, that's kind of something that I'm gonna try and tell my kids about. Is that like,
yeah,
listen, don't get so hung up on your accomplishments. Like, let's focus on your abilities. Like, the more whatever's happened in the past, it's great to celebrate it, but like, let's be the type of people that are like prepared and ready and looking forward to the next one, not always looking back and wondering, hey, did everybody see what I just did? Not, let's focus on the next one.
I love that. And you know what? I'm loving this right now, man. I've actually had quite a few people texting me over the past year and been like, "When are you doing another out of left? We really like these." Blaine Cravens was texting me about it. Adam McCord, we're like, "Do another one out of left. We really like your back and forth. Everyone loves your storytelling abilities, Joey." So here we go. What
Well,
do you want to talk about next, my friend? I've got
What
health at 41, or we can get into some guests, or what do you think?
so I don't know, like, and now that I said that, I don't remember exactly what I was going to say with health at 41, other than, oh,
You're just
here's the other thing.
having a
Not
down
to,
day, feeling old.
yeah, well, and not to bring it down further, but like when I was talking earlier about the realization of like mortality and all that, is that, you know, the great thing about sort of where I'm at in my life now is that my kids are getting a little bit old enough that like the things that I say to them actually matter to their personality and who they're going to be, and it does feel like I'm actually molding them into the people that they're going to be. But like the other side of that is the realization that like I'm now the same age as my dad was when he was diagnosed diabetic and he got put on a CPAP machine and all those things. And then I'm almost right at the same age too that my mom got breast cancer. So like I'm living this dual world where it's like my kids keep me young and I can be active with them, and you know, if you catch me on the right day I still feel like I'm very young and all that. But then the reality hits me that I'm like, hey, if I'm not careful, these other things are looming right around the corner too here. So like that's uh I didn't get that at 40. Like I think when you hit 40, you've
Really?
got you've got the visibility that like, oh, is it old? Is it not old? Have you reached your you know, have you reached your peak in professionally or physically, or you know, what else do you want to accomplish? Like, is it that
Right.
I think I was kind of distracted with all those things and I felt fine with them. But man, for whatever reason, since I've turned 41, it was just all like the okay, now the 40 has worn off. Now I went from thinking that 40 was young to now thinking that 41 is real old.
All in one year.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
a drastic change.
I totally agree with you. I just hit 40 this last fall, and there are moments when I still feel like, oh man, I feel like good, and I'm happy with kind of like how I feel and how a lot of things. And then there are moments where I'm like, oh man, I feel old, and like
Yeah.
my body feels beat up, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, those are some wrinkles on that face, it looks a little different than it used to look. Some salt and pepper
Oh my
coming in
God.
there too.
Uh, while we're on this, I gotta say, I hope that Jason Knadler continues to tuck in his shirt. Do not let your kids talk you out of that. I
That
am
was great, wasn't it?
absolutely. Oh my God, that hit me so much because I'm like, I don't know, I can't explain it. Maybe it's because I'm a uniform guy, like like wearing uniforms or whatever. But I'm
Yeah.
a shirt tucked in kind of guy, unless I'm wearing like a hooded sweatshirt or swim trunks. Guaranteed the first thing I do. I mean, dress shirt, t-shirt, long sleeve, polo, it doesn't matter. Like it just feels more put together to have a belt on and your shirt tucked in. And my kids rag me, and my wife does
Same
too.
on you too.
Yeah, yeah. They're
They
like,
get you.
oh my gosh. And you know, maybe it's because I'm not in the same physical shape that I was a little bit more, and it looks very dad-ish, you know, when I do it. But it's just like it feels too sloppy to me to untuck the shirt. So I hope he did not let them talk him out of wearing the tucked in shirt.
If I know Jason Canaler, I don't think he's doing anything differently at all. I think he's tucking in that
Yeah,
shirt. I think he's whistling. I think he's doing Jason Canaler things.
yeah, he
Um,
should. He should.
so what were your thoughts on so I ended up having Colt on. So I had Colton Canadler on, Jason's son, who is just kind of this blossoming local high school athlete here, and he just got named CS8 Football Player of the Year. He had an absolute monster year as a quarterback, all state. He's getting recruited by D1s all around the country, Ivy League. Like this kid was wildly mature and impressive as
Yeah.
for a 17-year-old. I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts.
Yeah, the poise did not feel like a high schooler whatsoever.
Right.
And I mean, I guess I attribute that a little bit to you know, family and being around, you know, other high level, high successful type things. But
Sure.
um, and maybe I'm not around enough other high school athletes right now that maybe that's more common than I think. I can only compare it to myself back then. But just um, he said all the right things that I would not have known to say.
Yeah.
Um, and just as far as like just like even the nutrition thing, like come on, I wasn't focused on nutrition in high school or even college
No.
or anything. And it's like it's one thing if you're it's one thing if your parents have that mindset and they're like, hey, we're going to set this up for you because we want you to eat well, this, that, and the other. It's a
Mhm.
completely other thing for it to kind of be adopted and accepted by the high school athlete. Like I felt like him he didn't have any distractions, right? And maybe he did,
Yeah.
and he just didn't talk about them. But it's just like if I could go back and that was me being 17 on that, the only thing I could think of is I want a copy of this so I can get it out to everybody so they can see how great I am. You know what I mean? Like, and it would have been for the attention. It would have been
Yeah.
for the notoriety, and it would have been how can I our girl's going to be impressed by this, that
Yeah.
that and the other. But it just the poise that he had and the focus just didn't seem out of place at all. I mean, he obviously didn't have the backstory of somebody you've interviewed that had a 15-year career, but
Right.
it certainly seems like he was very comfortable with where he was at.
Yeah.
He still loved. It didn't feel like he was saying things other people expected him to say. Like I think maybe other
Hmm.
people would expect him to say he's focused on baseball and this is his path to being a professional, this, that, and the other. He was still very humble and he was like, listen, I've got a lot of work to do. Like regardless of what people say, I know that the work's got to be done. I still love competing in football. Winning a championship means more to me. Like I, I
Yeah.
guess I guess I would have maybe anticipated a little bit more focus on himself, but yeah, just really, really poised, really good. And for somebody who doesn't live there and is not in his age group, was still very engaged and interested in the conversation.
Yeah. And I thought he came across very genuine too, you know. I didn't think it didn't sound like he was saying answers he thought would sound good. I think he was being genuine with who he is and how he lives his life, and it sounds like he's very dedicated to his sport and mature, and he's kind of always been down that path, and it's obviously boded well for him. He's a stud quarterback, but he also is this stud catcher, and the future is very bright for him. And yeah, I was a little worried there too that I wasn't going to be able to connect with an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, and as a 4-year-old, am I going to be able, is this going to be an easy conversation? It felt very easy to me, and I
Yeah,
think obviously he was probably comfortable because his dad was on and Justin was on.
yeah,
He knows how much I respect the Canadian name and how I'm not some journalist trying to make you sound dumb, and I gave him all the questions before, and it was just a very easy, fun conversation. I thought it went terrific. I was really happy with how it went.
yeah. No, I was. I admired his personality, his stance, his responses.
Yeah,
Because, like I said, if I put myself in that situation, I would not have had the wherewithal to give so much credit to coaches and the time they spent and how they developed him and all that. It's just
yeah.
I don't know why. I don't. I mean, I don't feel like I was some jerk back then, but it just
Not at all.
and
No, not at all.
but it just yeah, I just they're yeah, just admired his stance on it, his take on it. Rooted for him for sure. Like these are guys that I'll probably look up their stats online and see him and things and start pulling for him.
Yeah. Well, who to next, buddy? Oh, one thing I made a note of. I texted Bull the other day, Ron Riggle, who's now retired.
Yeah.
He was our coach in Lincoln Land. Get this, this will make you feel old. He was younger than us when he coached us at Lincoln Land right now.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that
What was
crazy?
he? Do
He
you
was
know
like
what?
late
How
30s. Like late
was
30s.
he? Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
crazy?
I don't like to play that game.
Man, that feels weird. Like,
I
I
know.
don't
I
know. I
know.
don't I don't feel like I was Bull's age, even though I'm older than Bull. I guess Bull will forever be 20 years older than me, or ever 15, 20 years older than us.
Agreed.
It's weird to think about that.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah. It is for me as well. Yeah.
Oh, I've
Uh.
got a funny Big Bull thing for you. Ready?
Yeah. Oh, always.
So I see Big Bull still driving around town all the time, in his Ron license plate. And let me tell you this, Big Bull drives by his own speed limit, and it's not fast. It's not fast. It is 20 miles an hour under the speed limit, and he doesn't care. He doesn't
No.
care if there's an elephant line behind him honking at him. He's not a care in the world, going 20 miles an hour, probably flipping the bird, who knows? But
Yeah.
I just smile every time and drive past and wave. I don't know if he ever sees me, but I'm just like, you do your thing, big boy. I
Yeah.
love
That
seeing
was
it.
a No, that was a again. See, that's the kind of thing too that like if I if I saw him, I would still think that he was the exact same age when I saw him. 20
Right.
years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
they get stuck in like this like frame of how you saw them at one period, and like they're forever that age. It is a weird thing.
yeah,
What's
and And I would feel this like I guarantee the first thing he would say to me is ask if my razor was broke. And if he didn't ask me, I'd be very disappointed.
Where do you want to go to next, buddy? We've got some guests that we haven't talked about. I mean, I've been popping out. I popped out a few in the fall, and then had to take another break, and then now I've been really getting busy here.
Yeah, so Travis Scott's story was really good too about
Uh-huh.
how because he like Travis was an interesting one that I knew him very well, but like the
Right.
amount of time that we got to play against each other or with each other was actually cut really short.
So it's
Um,
handbrake, right?
well, and so he was a year younger than me in school too. So it's like,
Yep.
whenever you're checking the stats and you're checking the books and you know who the guys are from other teams, like I knew who his name was and from basketball and all that type of stuff. But then yeah, the 1 year that we would have crossed over at Lincoln Land, he was there a lot, but he got hurt early and was always around. And then we subsequently played um, rifles that summer.
Right.
And I want to say that he even battled some injuries in and out there too.
Yeah.
So it was like I think there was a period of time when I was around him a lot, and our stories overlap a little bit, but we probably didn't play more than 20 games together.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, but
And I
did you play?
and but then
Yeah.
so he of course he crushed it. He played really well in high school right before Lincoln Land, I believe. Then he got
Yeah.
hurt, and then he was just on fire for you guys the year after I was gone.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Got
and then
drafted, and that was
even
a draft and follow.
and so yeah, it's like I think the I mean, he was. I want to say we had two other really good catchers for rifles that year. So we had Doc Doyle, which was at
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina, and then
Yeah.
Nevin Ashley, I think it was his name from like Indiana State or something. He ended up playing pro ball also,
Hmm.
and then Travis was behind them. So I think he was really only catching every third day, and he got. I think he played some time at first and DH'd and all that.
Yeah.
But like, I'll never forget that summer was kind of brutal, and that like if you were off that day there wasn't a real mindset that like you get your body ready just in case and you go through your routine. Like if you were off, you were off. Like you
Yeah.
probably drank the night before, you came in with basketball shorts underneath your pants and all that. And so I remember on two different occasions, T. Scott was out, um, and probably had a nice collection of some sort of spit on the ground from just relaxing in the dugout all game. And then seventh inning, Weave calls them in to pinch hit. No batting gloves, no stretching, no anything. Hits a pinch hit homer twice that season.
What?
And I think those were his only two home runs were pinch hit, no gloves, no stretching, no nothing.
That sounds like T Scott. He was kind of like a
Yeah.
show and go kind of a guy, just massively talented, right?
But then I sort of went on this character journey with him through his story that like I remember him being a little bit immature and kind
Yeah.
of he I think alluded to some mistakes that he made and Bull looking out for him as a dad and all that. And that's
Yeah.
how I kind of remembered him too. That I was like I don't remember exactly, but that was kind of the thing. Is I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, man, if he ever gets it together and is mature, he's got all the talent in the world. And then when you hear his arc of what he went through in professional ball, and then kind of getting that community with the Skeeters, and like kind of playing a role as like the community liaison, and then becoming firefighter and all that, like it was almost like I was listening to a movie about somebody I knew, right? But I didn't know the story. Like I
Oh.
knew that he went and played indie ball for the longest time, but there were elements of his character and him growing up and all that I didn't know the details of. So that was
Oh.
fun to hear that story from him too.
Beautifully put. And I wondered that too, because obviously he found a home with the Skeeters, right? He was there 5 or so years. And that obviously says that they like you there, they value you, they think you have some sort of, work ethic, leadership. And I think T. Scott would have told you that he didn't always do things maybe the right way at Lincoln Land sometimes, and maybe earlier in his professional career, and he had a lot of maturing to do. So that was cool to hear him, take his lumps kind of in some baseball stuff and early in his pro career, and then kind of get his footing. And then, yeah, and I can totally remember. I remember T. Scott. I think he lost his father in high school, or it was around that time, and it was a difficult thing for him. And I think Bull really was like kind of like a father figure for him. And Bull was a father figure for a lot of guys in
Yeah.
ways.
I
And
mean, yeah, that's the whole like, man, knowing what I know now of just watching my kids lose their grandpa and my wife kind of going through it as adults, man, I really can't um I can't even act like I can put myself in those shoes and understand what he was going through. Like that's a, and I didn't have that perspective back then either. And I don't think he would have wanted, like, no, I don't think anybody treated him differently and he wouldn't have wanted that. But like, I did wish, or I do wish now that I had maybe a little more life experience or, a little more maturity back then to be aware of some of those things and like, how they mattered or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always thought Bull was good at um, treating he coached you and was a mentor to you in the way that you needed, I felt like. And it wasn't just cookie cutter for everyone. This is how it is. It was unique to how he saw you and what he thought you needed. And that something that I always thought was special about him. And I thought he was a big figure in T Scott's life right after high school, needing kind of that male father figure. So kudos to Bull for that. And yeah, just really cool to see T Scott's arc through baseball and like what a salty baseball guy too, right? Like man, that guy's lived a baseball life, like all over, was a prospect, was a reject, was a suspect, was a all-star, was all of it.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit there, but I know. Yeah, the sort of
Oh,
the ups and downs of it is, um, I mean, something that I can't even. Again, I think that kind of goes back to what I wanted to say about Ben and what I want to say about Colt was too is that they're like, it feels like they're really at ease with how their path is starting or just putting in the work. And I remember back then when we had
hmm
you'd hear about scouts coming to watch guys, it was like not a it wasn't a panic, but it was almost like oh my gosh, what if this is your only shot? Or what if this is your only shot to be seen? Like if you don't do well today, are they never going to talk to you
yeah,
again? I didn't get that idea from the younger guys
absolutely,
that you had talked to. Like they're more focused on the
yeah,
process and doing what they need to do, and like the visibility will kind of take care of itself. But man, I remember even going all the way back to Dusty's episode way back then, and hearing some of the comments from Greer about scouts wanting him to go do BP on the field ahead of time, and I guess my perspective then was like I didn't know. Maybe I didn't have the perspective of how many guys were getting seen in Central Illinois. It was like anytime that came up, it would almost be like, oh my gosh, you have to be a world beater today, or they're going to forget about you and they're going to move on to somebody else.
yeah, absolutely, totally agree with that. I don't know if did you end up listening to Tyler Owen? That was like a kind of forgotten episode in there. No big deal if you
Um,
didn't.
he's not. I mean, I don't want to. I want to be careful not to confuse him with your other buddy from Murray, Wes.
So that was there was the Wes Cunningham story, but so I went down to the Murray State baseball golf outing this last fall and had a great time with all those guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Joe, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. You're looking a little blurry there, so I'm just making sure your connection's good. But I had this I've been kicking around the idea of doing like guys that were in college and that had like some kind of cool college careers as well, and I was like this is a perfect guy to do it. This was what a guy that I played with that I felt like was really close. He was like really really close to being like this guy is pro level, and I still think he had pro tools, and maybe in another life he could have made it to pro ball, but and like his younger brother made it all the way to the show. So it's like and he looks just like him. So like just genetics were just slightly off, and I wanted to. And T.O. was always really hard on himself and loved the game and really into hitting and mechanics. And he's been a college coach and now he's a high school coach. So he's seen a lot of different aspects of baseball. And I just thought it would be fascinating to hear kind of how he went back and saw his career, what went right, what went wrong, and all the other stuff too. So it was a really great um, perspective. I thought, Joe, are you still there? I just lost your video. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna pause.
You back? Are you back? Are you back? Am I back? Am I back? Are you back? Am I not in here now? Am I back in here now?
Having a few technical difficulties. I'm kind of in between formats of how I'm trying to do this thing here. So, all right, where do we kind of left off? I was rambling about Tyler Owen. If you remember any of that, I don't know.
It, or was he a guy that was absolutely all in on it and wanted to make
All
it?
in,
Yeah.
all in, and it was devastating for him. So I really, and I can relate to that. So I really wanted to hear kind of how he saw it, how he came to terms with it, how he, God damn it, do I lose you again?
You
Oh, sorry. You there?
still there? Yeah.
Okay. Man, we keep having some difficulties here. Yeah, so I wanted to hear just kind of how he saw it, and I thought it was a really interesting thing to be really close, that good, probably good enough, could have played any ball but didn't quite make it, and it's still, has love for the game even though it broke his heart. So I totally can understand that. So
Yeah. No, I'll no, I mean I probably will have to go back to the because I'm not remembering any details of that. I must have missed that one.
no big deal. Um, then let's move on to Walt. So you got to play with Walt. You know Walt Patton very well. What you
Yeah,
got?
and I think like Walt is another one that like he um because he doesn't harp on his accomplishments, I think he left out a lot of his mystique and aura and just how like
I
good he
agree.
was, like
Yeah.
athletically. So um he would I know you guys said you said that he was very athletic and stuff like that, but like without some examples, I don't think it gives a lot of credit. Like I think Walt had a really good chance to be an almost all state level basketball player if he wouldn't have torn
Oh
his
yeah.
knee
a
his
hundred
his
percent.
senior year. Like he was um I mean, he was just one of those like Derrick Rose type athletes. Like he was super
Hmm.
fast, super
He
shifty,
was.
could get into the lane, could jump out of the gym over everyone. Like another guy that like um obviously I wasn't there to see Corey Erickson and things like that. But I mean, when you talk about 5'11" and had skills and things like that, like there just wasn't. He was fast enough that he was really hard to guard, could jump enough that he could get shots off, and he
Yeah.
did have that like that bulldog competitive mentality. Um,
Yeah.
and he so really when I mean we competed against each other in high school, but really same thing is he came around like I remember him getting to Lincoln Land when it would have been his freshman year, my sophomore. But it was probably only 7 or 8 months after surgery. And I remember him coming back sooner than an ACL than you really should have. And he did a
Yeah.
lot, like he already had really strong legs, but I remember that was really the first time that I'd heard anybody talk about like what percentage your quads and your hamstrings should be.
hmm
And I think he was just really dialed in on making sure that he strengthened it and things like that. I mean, just had these massive calves, right? I
Oh
was,
man.
again,
I mean, okay, if you can picture the cartoon Popeye, but just calves, like it was. I mean,
and
Walt was well built, like a strong looking guy. He had some forearms
yes,
on him, and just like, but his calves just looked like they were for somebody else, like they were like Lego snap-ons or something.
yeah, and I was like, and I was super jealous that he could dunk and I couldn't, and it was like,
Yeah.
I was a good 6 or 8 inches short of really being able to do it, and so when I'm like, so he was jumping a foot taller than I, higher than I was, and I just remember thinking,
Mhm.
I'm like that's, and I would ask him, I'm like, man, what did you do to get your legs so strong? And he would always just kind of like, huh, I don't know, run hills, it was never
Right.
like it always like downplayed his own ability. He knew he could do it, but like
Oh yeah.
he was never harping on it. Um, but the uh, the story that he told about throwing the ball. I didn't think he would remember that he threw the ball from the foul line.
Hmm.
And I don't know what started it. If that was his idea, if I riled him up or whatever. But he did mention mine. I certainly remember it,
Hmm.
and he mentioned my name in it. But like, I want to say that I was probably launching it as high and as far as I could, and probably not even getting to the warning track. And knowing me back then, I probably poked him a little bit and said something, about getting it over the scoreboard or this, that, and the other. I assumed that he knew how far or how hard he could throw it, but he acted like he didn't know, or he thought he was pretty sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. He didn't run up to the line. He didn't jump in big crow hop. I mean, it was
Just turn
almost
around and
it was a little bit, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit more than like coming set in the stretch, but I mean, it legit was just kind of like a couple glove pounds, and he just let this thing go, and I mean,
Mhm.
it looked effortless to me, and it just,
Yeah.
it's the difference of the ball coming off a driver versus an iron. You know what I mean? Like it just
Oh.
shot out of his hands so much
Oh
faster
yeah.
than it did mine. And I remember
Yeah.
this thing. I remember watching this thing towering in the air and thinking like that can't go over this. Like there's no way that goes over the scoreboard, right? And sure enough,
Hmm.
this thing comes down, and it was. I mean, you might as well took a sledgehammer to the scoreboard. The crash was so loud, and we all scattered in different directions because it was so loud, and we knew Bull was going to be pissed. And
Upset.
if I
Yeah.
remember right, he was.
Oh yeah.
I remember. I remember immediately looking at him and being like, it wasn't me. I can't throw it that far."
Oh, look at me. Yeah.
Sold him
There's
out
only one guy
immediately.
on this team that could do that right now, and that
Yeah,
is,
you do that.
Mr. Walter Patton. Yeah.
Yeah, God,
And
if I wish I had access to the archive stats by game, because I'm not kidding you. There was a stretch in the middle of that season when, and this has come up before. Like there weren't a lot of guys throwing 92 to 94 back then.
no,
And
not at
so
all. It was so
no,
rare. I mean, it was like a
yeah,
unicorn around here.
and I'm not kidding you. There was a stretch, probably like if someone can find the game by game stats, they can obviously correct me. But I'm not kidding you. There was about a 6 game stretch, which would have, if he pitches once a week or whatever, it was, maybe a month, 5 6 weeks or whatever it was. He was unhittable. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we won every game 10-0, but like he probably threw 120, 130 pitches. Um, I mean, maybe some guys made contact, but a lot didn't. But that was
Oh
always
yeah.
his thing. His pitch count was always high,
Yeah.
because he worked a lot. Like he wasn't striking guys out, on 3 straight pitches a lot of deep counts, a
Yeah.
lot of, and I mentioned this to you before as well. Like even umpires at that level hadn't seen his level of stuff. So there was a
Right.
lot of ball, like, and the catchers, right? So like if he
Hmm.
spikes a ball in the ground, it's 20 or 30% harder than our catchers were seeing from anybody else. And
Oh
if
yeah.
he starts one high and drops it in, it sounds silly to say, but the umpires that were umpiring our game weren't seeing a lot of 94 with the hammer breaking ball. So I do remember Walt, like for as wild as he was, there's a lot of close pitches that he had that wouldn't go his way just simply because I don't think people were used to seeing it. And that was even
Yeah.
true. That was even true in the CICL with rifles. I remember a lot
Hmm.
of counts that he would throw balls that were clearly like most time it was breaking balls that were in there that I remember him
Yeah.
not getting the count or not getting the call and just thinking umpire looks like he didn't know what hit him.
Used it. Yeah. And I loved how you just went on that Walt rant. That was terrific. There's so much more that needs to be said about Walt that Walt just didn't say. He's not the guy that's gonna tell you how great he was. So I was glad we got a few people talking about his athleticism, but I made some notes while you were talking there that some things I wanted to touch on. He also casually mentioned that he could throw it over the center field fence, which is when you're thinking of a professional college level field, you're thinking probably 390, 400, 410 to center. So him being able to throw the ball 400 feet plus is remarkable, an absolute bazooka. Um, yeah,
If I didn't have the anecdote of, I don't know how far it was that he threw the other one.
right. I
Well,
wonder
it
how
would have
far that
been,
was.
so the wall there would have been, I mean, from the line, it would have been what is it, 330 to the corner. And this, I mean, it probably hit 50 foot up. So, I mean, I would still like to have seen it, but
Close.
I
Yeah,
saw enough to say, you know what, I if he says that he's done it, I don't. I've got enough evidence to
I
believe him.
believe it.
Yeah,
100%. One of the best arms I ever saw. Legit looked like the ball was rising when he was really in
yeah.
his element, really popping it. Like it had a little pop at the end. That you don't normally see, you know. So he had a lot of rotation. Um, one of the and cannot be stated enough how great of an athlete Walt Patton was. And I think he's about 6 foot guy, but well built, could absolutely jump out of the gym dunking. I thought he was a good fielder. I thought he was a good hitter. He had pop.
Yeah.
I absolutely think he could have played high level baseball as a position player. Um, I thought it was really sad kind of how his career ended too. Like it
Uh,
just
uh,
seems so just like it just like fizzled out. Like, there was man, like for how great he was and how just we all were kind of in awe of him, for him to go to pro ball and it be over that quick, and his arm just wasn't that's man, that
there's
was heartbreaking.
sometimes when you see other guys and you stack them up and you're like, that guy doesn't look like a professional. And you're like, how are his skills so well? But like Walt was the kind that if you looked at him, you'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, I get it. Like
That guy.
that's the muscle mass you need to have. That's
Yeah.
the proportions. That's how you need to look. Those are the attributes you've got to
Yeah.
have. He did look like
Hmm.
he had a pro build, especially if he would
Absolutely.
have kept going. But
And
again, yeah,
yeah.
I for as much as of a competitor as he was, for it to end that abruptly and him say that he didn't even get the surgery, but he was just
Yeah, that
like,
was
he's a family man. He's a no nonsense. Like he didn't
yeah.
want anyone. He didn't want to string like. I think all of us would have been like, in retrospect, it would have been like, hey, what can we do? Like, give it one more chance. Like, you're our guy. We want to see you go do it. But he was just like,
Right.
no, like I've got stuff I got to go handle. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
string anybody along, on a chance.
I thought that was interesting too, that he said I didn't have the insurance, I didn't want to get the surgery, and I didn't want to put it on anyone else. And
You know,
I do wonder if there could have been some legal recourse of him getting the surgery paid for by the twins, you
for
know?
sure. Because
If
didn't
that
he
could have
say they
been
cut him like 3 days before the surgery?
it was like he had got diagnosed, or they were thinking that was it, maybe, or something like. And he was a little fuzzy to me, but then yeah, they cut
Yeah,
him. And then I'm not sure if he got clear evidence after or before. I can't remember that, but yeah, right? It seems like they should have had to pay for that.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a uh, it's a pay to play system, right? Like
Yeah.
if you've got the means to be in all the right places and have all the right trainers and medical care and stuff, it doesn't
Yeah.
guarantee you a spot, but it certainly affords you some extra chances. And yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like for as young as he still was,
Yeah.
and
You and
he
I were both
like
still playing college baseball when he was done with
yeah,
baseball. Wrap
yeah,
your head
and
around that.
yeah, and like he was the results, like the results with him were never what mattered. Like no one looked at his record and was like, well, did he win 10 games? Like everyone
Right.
could see his stuff and be like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
different than the rest. So like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, so even if like when we talk to all these other guys that are like, well, when I got to pro ball, I was only hitting 275, or I only hit 289 that year. But like Walt was never a guy that I don't. The first thing that you would ask would have never been like, well, what's his WHIP, what's his ERA, what's his record. Like you would just
No.
watch him throw, and you'd be like, okay, that's different. We're gonna
That
work with
guy's
this guy.
special. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, I
So,
mean, nothing you can go back in time and do now. But like when you stack up, even in the CICL, even with other Division I pitchers and pro caliber athletes and stuff, he
mhm,
was maybe not as consistent, but his stuff was as good as anybody else in the league for sure.
absolutely. And I got to go to his house and meet some of his family. And I remember, meeting Faith, his wife, back in the day. But I got to meet his son Wyatt, who is
Yeah,
supposed to be an absolute dude, and he's got the look, man.
yeah,
I pride myself in being able to pick out athletes, and that guy walks in the room, and it's just like little Walt Patton.
yeah.
He's got the build. It's going to be interesting to watch out for that name, Wyatt Patton, coming up in Williamsville.
I I would expect nothing less. I mean, if he's got the genetics, it should turn out that way, shouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is so cool to see guys, around our age, like their sons coming up and being like, "Oh, is this guy gonna be good?" Or I always ask dads, I'm like, "Can you tell if he's got it yet?" And some will be like, "Oh, he's pretty special," and some will be like, "He ain't got it," You never know. You
That's
never
where
know.
I'm at with, like, I'm there right now trying to tell my son that he doesn't have it, like, because that's his problem, is that he scores a couple buckets at recess and he thinks he's Steph Curry, and I've got to
Yeah.
remind him like that he's not. That's his that's his issue, is he's got a little bit of skill and no drive, and that it makes me crazy.
Well, buddy, what are we talking about next? We've got
Let me.
sorry,
What else?
go
What
ahead.
else did we put on our list?
I've got kind of like pods to come. I've got
Oh,
I had
come
some
on.
thoughts on formats. Go ahead.
Are you ready
Yeah,
for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. A little. What do we say? It's time to give some flowers to the return of the sweatsuit.
Oh, buddy.
Sweatsuits are back, and I'm all in. I'm like this. This story starts 35 years ago with me. My first ever Fruit of the Loom sweatsuit, matching red or matching blue or whatever it is. And I wanted, like, my mom used puffy paint to write Albsmeyer on the leg and number 8 on the back. Like, that's
Yeah.
where my sweatsuit journey started. But, like, okay, first of all of the big brands are taking full advantage, because, like, Under Armour and Nike and Jordan, they're wanting $220 to $250 for these matching, like, sweatsuit jumpsuits. And I got to admit, I'm in on it. Like, I want, like, God, I don't have to wear suits to work. Um,
Yeah.
so, like, for me, it's shorts and a golf polo. But, like, when the weather's cold, so I went. Under Armour had this new line of sweatsuits that I was like, man, I should get me one of those. But then I saw
Yeah.
the price and I'm like, come on, I can't pay that for a sweatsuit. So I went
Right.
and I found this one that was on clearance. I don't know if it was because last year's model or the color, because it's a full red one. Like, they can't sell many of those.
Yeah. Right.
Uh, I don't know how to explain it other than when I put this thing on, it feels like it's game day, and I love it. So I got a black one, I got a gray one, I got a red one, and you will catch me at all of my kids' games in this full
Full
matching
suit.
jumpsuits, sweatsuits, whatever. Now, not the windbreakers. I can't
Right.
go. I don't know. I mean, maybe one day I can get back into the windbreaker, but listen, they're popular with the kids, and I'm right in there with it. You got to have a nice pair of sneakers and get you
Mhm.
a matching jumpsuit, and tell me it doesn't feel like game day.
I mean, like if for those of you that don't know, I'm at least at our time. I mean, both of my places in college, we had. I mean, at Lincoln Land, we had these like red, kind of like swishy jumpsuits that we would kind of wear two games. It's like our
Yeah,
official kind of
like what you
thing.
wear on the
And I,
bus or something.
yeah, but they would be loud because they'd be like Lincoln Land red or that blue. And yeah, I totally get that. Feeling like game day, huh?
It does. There's not a whole lot that I cling to these days, right? I don't have a ton of time to play golf, even though I love it. I don't do
Yeah.
video games. Like, it's just for still. But man, this winter, let me tell you, when you get a new warm up suit and you put that thing on, all of a sudden it feels like game day again, and it's worth it.
Hey, tell you told me this story. Tell me that story when you were like golfing with those dudes, and you just like randomly decided you were gonna let it eat on one hole, and you absolutely caught it, and then like you were God the rest of the weekend. You remember what I'm talking about?
So that I don't remember exactly who that was with, but, like, that is kind of my golfing story, is that I'm very sporadic, very. I'm not a good golfer at all. Like, I'm a little bit worse than bogey. Like, if I shoot better than bogey golf, that was a great day for me. But not a
Yeah.
remarkable ball striker, not a good putter, whatever. But, like, in a scramble format, there are some times that I can still swing it, and I'll catch one pretty good. Um, so there's, any time that I get to golf now, it's very rarely with my buddies. Like, with every I do have a group of friends that we
Business.
try and take a golf trip every year, and that's fine. But, like, if I'm playing in a golf event now, it's probably, with a trade show or at, some sort of sports commission or CVB destination or whatever, and it's usually with guys that I don't play with. And you would be surprised how just one you can be mediocre at everything else, but if you can still hit a ball a long way, it still grabs the attention. It's like the chip
Yeah.
dig the long ball type thing. It's like, and like golfers know that it's hard enough to hit a ball that like you kind of get a pass if you hit like four or five that aren't anywhere close. But man, if you crank that one, like that's the lasting impression is they leave there
Yeah,
talking about you like you're 10 times better than you are. So like that's
that's so
the
true.
my wife got me for last Christmas. She got me this little Rapsodo, like
Oh, cool.
not a rangefinder, but it's like a tracker. So like when you go to the range, you set this thing on the ground and it connects to an app on your phone, and you tell it what club you're hitting, and then it projects the flight of it and the distance and all that. And then it does this cool thing where it's like any of them that you want to save, it like makes it real easy to share the little video clip and all that.
Mhm.
And this has not been used to improve my game or dial in my clubs whatsoever. Maybe 25 or 30 swings in, it's right to the driver as hard as I can crank it. How high can the club head speed go? How far can I hit it? Everything. Like it's just it's a toy for a child that can't control their impulses, and that's me.
That's great. And I remember you saying like you bombed one up, up well over 300, and these guys were like, "Oh, Joey, you're the
Yeah.
man." And I totally get that. I mean, I golf with Joe Canadler. He's kind of in my group of guys that every once in a while I golf with, and that's what he's known for. This is Justin
Yeah.
and Jason's younger brother. He's this big behemoth of a man. He's like 6'6", 270, and he'll hit 10 balls. I mean, all over the place. He's an absolute menace. But he'll hit one straight that's 350, and then we're all like, "Oh my God, Joe, you're the
Yeah.
coolest." And
there's
that's what I
there's no
remember.
other sport. There's no other sport where you could do
Yep, absolutely. And he's terrible the rest of the round, but
that.
that one ball, he's gonna hit 350. We're gonna just be in awe, our jaw on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, what next, buddy? What we got? Pods to come, format. I've got some
Yeah.
interesting thoughts on format.
I want to just like, yeah, where it seems where you have a really good intuition on like the feel of it. Like I'm pretty good at throwing out some ideas to you and seeing what sticks and things like that. But
Yeah.
um, it does seem like you've got a pretty good feel for because obviously you've got to execute it right. So like the
Yeah.
more you're the more you're engaged in it and the more you're interested in it, I think you can get a good interview or some good content out of anybody. Um, but yeah, it's I did miss I did get into a little routine there where I was looking forward to listening to all these episodes and all that, and then I think that sort of group of guys kind of ran out, and you were kind of at this fork in the road of like, okay, you've done the Bo Hart story and you've done like the pro guys and all that, and it was sort of where do we go from here? Like, do you
Mhm.
try and catapult this to be more national interest stories or special
Yeah.
ones? Or
Oh,
but I think
interesting.
going back to the Central Illinois stuff, I think um, is great content. Like there, I don't have your statistics in front of you about if you have listeners from outside of the area, but I mean, it's I think it's always going to be wherever you want to take it, and obviously you've got as much interest now as you ever had. Like people either wanting
Yeah.
to support episodes or support the show or
Yep.
support you. So it's like
Yeah.
it's whatever direction you want to take with it. I'm the one here to sprinkle in the ideas and then run away and
Yeah.
wait for it to sprout.
And you are so appreciated too. You've always been my right hand man to kick ideas to, and you're always really humble about it. And you're like, "Hey, I'm just giving you ideas. You're the one that's got to do
Yeah.
it." So it's true. I'm the one that's got to do the grunt work, but I'm happy to do it. And what's to address some of the things you said. Originally when I started this, I just wanted it went from being local to then I had aspirations of like, oh, I think I could make this a big thing. Like I think I could make this national. And that was kind of what the Bohart episode was supposed to do, but it didn't end up catapulting it to where I thought it was. And I still stand by the quality of the Bohart
For
story.
sure.
It's magic. And
Yeah.
it still could catch fire. Who knows? But it didn't, catapult me to like to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy. And so what I've kind of come up with, I'm at least committed to it for this year of 2025 is I'm going to stay local.
Yeah.
I'm going to really sink into Central Illinois, and I've got a huge document here of like guys. If you go on Baseball Cube or Baseball Reference and you look up Springfield, Illinois, it'll show you every pro player from Springfield, Illinois, all the way down, even college guys now. So I've got a huge document of guys. I've been reaching out to guys to talk to them. And one thing that I was getting away from, or I was trying to get away from, in an effort to crank out more content, was I was going to stop doing the side interviews. And I was, like when I talked to the coach, the friend, all these guys, and splice them in. I was going to get away from those, and I did get away from those on the T Scott episode. And I felt like, while I stand by that, and it was still a cool episode, it was missing some of the heart of what this is. And I think it is special to hear a coach, a peer, a friend, a teammate, someone talk about you and kind of fill in the blanks, because it is weird a little bit talking about yourself. And
Yeah.
it would have been weird for Walt to be like, I was a great athlete. I was the best
Right,
athlete
right, right,
around.
right. Yeah.
So it was cool to hear guys say that for him. And
And
um,
I also think that you talking to some of those other people gives you some more insight, and you get some good spin-off questions from that. Like you
oh yeah,
play. Well,
absolutely,
and because I know there's a lot of stuff that you talk about with these guys that never makes it to air, right? Like that either doesn't make a
100%.
question or doesn't make the clip. But I
Yeah,
also do think that goes into just raising your own knowledge and awareness of like remembering that they said something something, and you're able to weave it into the episode, even though it indirectly came from them and you asked the question. Yeah, I think there's tons of value in talking to other people about it.
yeah. So getting that back into the podcast, I think, is the heart of it, and I feel good about that. So moving forward, we're gonna be doing that, but I think I'm not gonna do it as much. Like, it was getting nuts. Like, by the time I was doing Corey Erickson, I think I had like 15 or 20 people that I talked to. Like, I just was like, I kept
Yeah,
building it, and that's just how I am. I'm a line stepper. I want to go next one, next one, next one, and it became like, I don't want to spend a month preparing for something. And so now what I think moving forward is, I'll talk to like two or three guys maybe per guest. If they're a pro, it maybe if they're college, it's not even appropriate. And it could just be a conversation, but a couple guys, and I think I'm pretty um good at asking the questions now to the side interviews to get the answers that I want to get. And I don't have to spend an hour talking to them. I can knock that out in 15,
sure.
20 minutes, splice it up. It's a quicker turnaround than if I had 10, 15, 20 guys to talk to. So then my goal is to get two to three of these out a month. And I've got like
Oh yeah.
17 sponsors now. We've got some things worked out there. So I'm a lot of, backing from the community. And these are a lot of baseball people, guys that, want to support it and think it's cool. So, I mean, I've got a huge list here. Do you want me to, would it be fun for you to hear some of the names?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think there's a lot of guys that I don't know. Like I just saw the Springfield Hall of Fame announcements with both the Canadlers in it, and then there was this
Hmm.
other guy from Springfield High that had a great resume as well. And I'm like, man, I've never heard that guy's name before, but I immediately
Brad
was like, oh
Owens.
man, yeah, Brad. Yeah, I was
It's
like, I'm sure you know who it is. I didn't, but I'm like,
Yeah, I
man,
do.
there's so many guys that have good stories out there probably that I don't even know.
Yeah. So actually Brad Owens is going to come on. So that's a fun announcement for me. I just talked to him. I
That's
thought,
awesome.
I know, I always look for these little signs of when inspiration strikes. So he's going to be coming on here soon. I've got the ball rolling on his. I'm actually building like three different stories right now. So, but here's some of the names, and I'm really excited to say some of these. And some of these guys have committed. Some of these guys I have not reached out yet. So I'm not saying they're coming on, but a lot of these guys have. So Mitch Trees, Bo Gum, Eric Gum. I will still want to have Eric Weaver on for story time. I got to. Lauren White, Greg Taylor, Frank Stefano, Zach Stead, Pat Sheehan, Connor Sestak, Brad Sellinger, Steve Shilsky, Mike Pilger, Ryan Murphy, Brian McClure, Jacob Maton, Mike Mathiot, Colby Luttrell, Phil Laurent, J.R. Kies, Matt Crowe, David Jacob, Tim Hewlett, Tug Hewlett, Tyler Fitzgerald, Jeff Facero, Bob Erickson, Mitch Dye, Parker Detmers, Cole Daly, Matt Brewer, Ridge Ackerman, Sam Antonacci. I already had Ben Hartle, Bill Clayton, Jimmy Clayton, Reed Detmers, Connor Law, Nick Maton, Phil Naton, Brian McClure, Todd McClure, Jamie Stash, Brad Sellinger. Those are a couple names I got right now.
And
It's
these
gonna
are
be
all
a big,
baseball related too, right?
absolutely. But I'm
Gosh,
not
what a
afraid to do a football one or something outside of it if it strikes me.
yeah, but just what an like those are all exceptional Central Illinois baseball players. Like that, just
Absolutely.
rattling those off, like what a um I don't know, what a thing to be proud of, right? To be from
Yeah.
there. Like even if you're, there's just a
Damn
lot
right.
of Yeah, a lot of good guy, and um, even though there's some crossover, like I still like hearing about where guys, journeys took them and who was important to them and what made the difference in this, that, and the other. No, and um, they're all slightly different eras too. Like your high school career goes by so quick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like even like if you lived uh, if you lived in Springfield for 40 years, like you literally have gone through, I'm not calling generations, but like you went through 10 cycles of high school groups there, right? Because you're only in high school for
Yeah.
4 years. So
Right.
it's like you can still, somebody that came through in 2013 didn't play against somebody in 2018, right? So like
Yeah. Right.
it's got you can still be in the same community, same, related, know all the same people, and still not have played, through the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been cool that I've hearing, like Ben Hartle said that he's listened to some of these. So I guess I always wondered if like are there younger guys listening or is it just guys our age that we know that kind of, know these names. So it is cool that I do think some other people are starting to pick it up and it's starting to grow. And yeah, I feel inspired. There was a point when I really wanted to get this national and I still think it has potential, maybe sometime down the road. But for now, I'm really committed to Central Illinois and all these fantastic guys and their stories. And I feel inspired to do them. And that is something that I have to do. I need to feel inspired and like I really want to do it. And like I really, just like I want it. So
Yeah.
I'm really pumped. I think we've got a lot of fun names coming up here. And now that I can do this a little quicker, it's gonna be fun. So this is kind of what I'm doing right now, podcasting full time.
Awesome. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Well, anything else?
Well, you got anything else, buddy?
No, I mean I can. I'm excited to go back and listen to some more episodes, and if I've got some feedback, I will. But yeah, more. There's, I've always got. If you want to hear more family antics, I mean, I can always bring those up every single day. I've got a prepubescent 12-year-old in sixth grade that is nothing short of lots of learning stuff because he's into middle school and they have texting devices and he thinks that he's the first one to ever be a preteen and that somehow my life skipped that era and I know nothing. So that's all
Hey,
still fun.
how old did you guys wait till your kids got phones?
No,
What is an
they
age
don't
you think
have
it's
none of them do.
appropriate? None of them.
Uh,
Okay. What?
listen, I think it's up to everyone, but my
Okay.
oldest is definitely not a type that we can trust yet. Not that he would immediately go to inappropriate stuff, but what I mean is like he still he still doesn't know when it's respectful and when it's not,
Yeah.
and he would jump on his phone and he would look up basketball highlights or scores or the schedule or whatever. I don't immediately think that he's going to go on to bad stuff, although your curiosity mind would end you up there. But
Yeah.
he's not of a level where we can't trust him to handle business when it's time to handle business. Be respectful socially and
Hmm.
do that when you can. So like um, I don't want to say that he's got an addictive personality, but he is that kind. Like we've pulled him back from video games and screen time and things like that. Like because
Yeah.
whenever like he got into Fortnite and he got into it hard, and it was like
Yeah.
that's all he would talk about, all he would consume himself with, and we're like, okay, we need to pull him back from that, so that like
Yeah.
we still want him when he rides in cars with other adults. Like we don't want him to have a device. Like we want him to engage and talk with people and know how to handle himself. Same thing
Yeah.
at school. Like so many people, so many of his friends at school have phones that it's like the moment there's a free time or even in class they're trying to sneak onto their phones and like he we haven't broken through the age where he's honest with us about bad news. So like right now
Yeah.
he'll still lie and he'll still tell a one version side of the story to try and keep himself from getting in trouble. And so then of course when it all unravels then we tell him we're like, "Listen, had you just been honest about the thing that you made a mistake on, your punishment would have been this. But now since you lied about it, we have to punish you 10 times more that's going to feel unfair." And
Right.
he's just not getting it. Like we got so that's what I mean by not trusting him is that
Yeah.
he would he would use it in such a way that he wouldn't be honest with us. And that's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know what that age is for other people. Like, I could see he's going to get upset because I could see my younger son, my 9 year old, getting one at an earlier age than he did, just because I don't think my 9 year old's as interested in it. Like, he doesn't,
Oh, interesting.
he's just not that way. Like, he's
Yeah.
a little bit more interactive. He wants to be the class clown. He wants to talk to other people. He's into to other things. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're and listen, we hear it every day that he's the only sixth grader in existence without a phone.
Dude, my 5-year-old daughter, she's 5.5, is asking when she can get a phone. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you even world? I mean,
Yeah, no. So we
I'm,
let so we let him text from his iPad device that stays here. And he and his mom, he and Katie, excuse me, Katie and I review this thing almost daily. And
yeah,
I've got
see
it
what he's
set
doing.
and I've got it set to some personal settings that where he's not allowed to delete any messages, not allowed to delete
Mhm.
anything. So like, we've got to have that conversation that like, there are some of his friends that obviously say and share things that are quite inappropriate that sixth graders shouldn't. And so it's just it's an opportunity to say, listen, like, this is, we understand boys are going to be boys and you're going to say things, but like, you've got to understand anyone could screenshot this right now and send that to
Yeah.
somebody else's parents or the school or whatever, and just
Oh, yeah.
understand, like, just always operate, like, always you know behave and operate everything as if we are looking over your shoulder or can see it or
Mhm.
whatever. Now, I
Yeah.
don't I don't mean that as in we're always going to look over his shoulder, but like, right now in these
Sure.
critical years while he's developing, like, what's right, what's wrong, what's appropriate, like when to choose your times, how to identify, like, there's kids that can be nice that also have no guidance or maybe some, I don't know what I don't want to be. I don't want to be rude or anything, but like, you can tell some of the kids that are nice and funny, but they've also got no restrictions or no rules, and that's heading down a path that, like, hopefully they grow up and they don't get into some bad stuff. But like, it gives us an opportunity to talk openly about that with him and just be like, here are some things that you want to look for in your in your friends and all that, and
Yeah.
hopefully it pays off.
I'm sure you guys are great parents. I'm sure you'll figure out all the right things with all the technology. I'm so glad that I didn't have to grow up with that. Or, I remember getting, we get our first flip phones when we were 16, 17. They didn't even, mine didn't even, it just said incoming call on it. Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
no, I had the little brick Nokia phone when I was 16
Yeah.
that literally, I think I turned it on when I drove in the car, and then I turned it off when I got out of it. Like, I didn't even keep it on to text anybody. It was just like,
Right.
it was almost like a car phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we get out of here, I know we kicked this around about maybe addressing kind of, what's been going on with me in the last year. And are you cool to go down that road?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of softly ease
Yeah,
into it if it was something you wanted to
right.
do or not.
Sure. Yeah, I feel comfortable with it. And it's been a wild year for me, man. And you already know all the bang bang of it. But I think in the last out of left, I kind of alluded to, like, there might be some changes going on in my life. And it's been a wild year for me, man. I am now officially retired from firefighting. So I am no longer a firefighter. I was medically retired. And it was from, yeah, I thought about how am I going to say all this, but it was from PTSD. And I'm not going to get crazy here, but I ended up
Yeah,
seeing, like, a lot of really tough pediatric deaths. And, one particular that was really jarring for me that I was not able to, I guess, heal from. And it just
yeah,
became impossible to go to work. And all the symptoms of PTSD just ramped up to a million, and just
yeah,
a lot of turmoil in my life. And but now that's over with, and I mean, it got so bad that I had to go to the Center of Excellence, which is a rehab for PTSD. It's out in Maryland. It's only for firefighters. And I went out there, and that was a good thing for me. And I'm still on the mend. It's not perfect, but
Yeah.
it's been a wild year for me, man. And I do appreciate your friendship. This isn't all about just out of lefts. Like you and I text back and forth about some real stuff sometimes, and it's been a wild year for me. So appreciate your support and your friendship. I didn't know if anyone out there cares or wondered what was going on, but that's kind of, at the very we had the Corey Erickson kind of early in 2024, and then I really didn't do anything for a
Yeah.
long time, and then I kind of tried to start it up again in the fall, and was still having some major kind of issues and complications, so I paused it again, and now just feeling like I'm at a place where I can do this now, and so it's been a wild journey, my friend, but I'm still
Yeah.
here. I always get back up, man. My whole life has been getting my dick knocked in the dirt and then getting back up. So I guess this is no different.
And I think it's one of those things that like uh your perspective now is obviously much different than it would have been 6 months ago, 9 months ago, or whatever. Like so,
Sure.
obviously glad that whatever you're in a good place now and all that. And I think what you would find is that um, everyone now will be very supportive, and if you ever need anything, reach out, that type of stuff. But like
Sure.
it is a anytime you get in tough times like that, it is sort of difficult to know, like, well, if it's good this day and it's bad this day, like I'm not going to reach out because I know another good day is coming. Or when do
Yeah.
you reach out, or when do you make something? And only you can answer that. And I think that's kind of
Yeah.
the um any sort of health thing that you go through. I think sometimes a huge challenge is when you don't know exactly what is wrong, or you don't know exactly how to fix it. I know that's
Yeah.
a lot of
That
times
became the challenge.
yeah, a lot of times the frustrating part is that, like, if you break your arm and you go to the hospital and they say, yeah, you do this surgery and you fix it and it's going to be 6 weeks and it's healed, and here's some painkillers and that's how you get over it. Like, no one really. I mean, maybe some people may have some mental challenges with that, to say, oh, will I ever be able to use my arm as strong again? But like, there's so much um, contentment in the certainty of, this is what it is, this is how you fix it, and we move on. Like,
Yeah.
I think nowhere near your situation, but like, even
No, I
some,
get what you're
like,
saying.
any sort of little, like, anxiety that I get about work or the kids or whatever, the only thing that spins me around is the uncertainty, right? And it's like, then you start to ask questions in your own head of like, well, do I need to protect myself against this, and I need to make this move, and I need to say this to this person? And then it's like, you
Hmm.
go and get, the more that you talk to other people and you get more perspectives, maybe that changes in things a little bit. So all that to say, at any time, I'm sure you'd have a whole group of people saying that they want to be supportive, and
Yeah.
they're here for you, and all that type of stuff. But I get it, man. There's no blueprint. There's no certainty. Like, it's, if
I
you have
wasn't.
a good day
That
and
was
you
the
have a bad day, like, there's no telling when the right time or any of that stuff is.
Yeah, and I still have good and bad days. And one of the most frustrating things about the whole experience was just that I felt like I was putting the effort in, almost like, I had a bunch of surgeries in my baseball career, right? And I was known as an effort guy. I worked my ass off to come back from surgeries and all these things. And I felt like I was putting all this effort into trying to heal and get better, and it wasn't working. And it was like I
Yeah,
was doing therapy and, CBD therapy, EMDR, CPT, like meditating, journaling, doing all these things. And I would still just have, I mean, man, just to be real, it got so dark. I mean, like I was ready to check out about early this fall, and the only thing that kept me from not going further with that was my kids. And like,
yeah,
I'm sorry to derail this right now. I'm not trying to go super deep, but life is crazy
yeah,
sometimes, man. And mental health is serious. And I am on the mend now, and I've got things to live for, and I've got people that love me, and I've got some support systems. But man, things got really
yeah,
dark, and I'm glad I'm still here. I'm glad I went to go get
for
help,
sure.
but I was kind of like at my end of like, man, none of this is working. So like, I'm not gonna stick around for the rest of this life. This is how it's gonna be. It got that bad. So
Yeah.
thank you to all my friends that are out there that have shown me love and given me support. And it's been an absolute
So,
journey, and I wouldn't be here without you guys.
and like, I know that this is not like a call to, like, hey, share your experience, but like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if you get a bunch of guys reach out that were like, "Hey, man, I went through some shit too." Like, you know,
absolutely.
this is not like an open forum to like say, "Hey, dump all your tough shit on me because I want to hear it." But it's like, I think I think you'd be surprised how many people might speak up and be like, "Man, I'm glad you mentioned that," because like,
Yeah,
I was going through this, and this, and I didn't know who to tell or anything like that. So,
absolutely. So
anyway,
reach out. Yeah, reach out. If
yeah.
you're suffering, talk to someone, reach out, seek help. People want to help you. Don't suffer in silence. So anyway, thank you again to all my friends out there. Thank you to you, Joey, man. You're my brother, man. I love you. And thank you for giving me a little second here to get this off my chest. Not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of positivity coming. The post game spread is going to have a really big year, and I'm really excited to dig into all these guys' stories and give back to the community, and hopefully a lot more out of lefts and a lot more brotherhood between us, my man. Joseph, well, I think we might have lost Joseph there. So anyway, I'm going to take it out then. All right, post game spread. We're out of here. Out of left. And now Jerry is going to take us out with a nice little solo. This is Throwing Stones, 329.90.